Follow me, everything is alright. Everything is all.
Had Morrow when he was.
Okay, now you can do that for real. In
That
fact,
was
let's go take two here.
that was actually really good too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Sucks. Take two.
Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the third edition of Hash, Eggs, and Football. This is your host Erik Nannarone and
Pat Morrow. Somewhere.
yeah, somewhere off in the distance. So
I gotta tell you,
today,
Erik, I'm having an awful time recovering from that show last night. I went to bed laughing about that thing so hard. We had uh, we had quite a time,
oh yeah, that was a really good time.
and I think the fact that we're on a Victory Monday. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
victory,
Victory Monday.
double victory Monday because both Ohio State and the Browns won.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. That I'm not. I don't want to sound now like a negative Nelly, but I'm not real impressed with either one.
I, you know how I feel what they should do with the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. I, I know they reduced his role, but I think it's time for him to go. But let's get into that since I already started that. Or just Ohio State in general. Um, I with CJ Stroud, I still have a lot of questions because again, first half he struggles. He overthrows receivers, and he threw like 2 interceptions because of overthrows just in the first half. You can't if you want to win and maybe make the playoff, which that's a big maybe this year. You're gonna have to start winning by. You're gonna have to win by 50 next week against Akron. Sorry, Akron. You have
Yeah,
to be
I kind of agree with
disappointed.
that. I didn't realize they played Akron so quick, but that'll
Yeah.
be an interesting game. But it's one that's going to be a mismatch out the wazoo. But Ohio State's used to that. But
But
they better win. They
Tulsa was supposed to be a mismatch too, and I don't think because I think the spread was 30, and they only won by 21, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was 21.
So
The thing with you have to you're watching the Ohio State team grow now. They're Everybody has to realize that this is a rebuilding team now. They've lost half of their team to the 4 year thing.
hmm
Seniors are gone. You've got players that have went to the NFL already in that, and that's what's hard to take, but it is what it is. And until you get whoever you're going to put in there as quarterback, until you get him in there and get him uh, some time in the playing field, it's going to be like this. You know, there are things that that kid's not doing, and I've said this on a couple other shows. There's some things that that kid's not doing that he should be incorporating into it little bit by little bit. I've yet to see him, and I've watched all three of the games, Ohio State games, and he's not one. He's a pocket passer. That's all there is to it. He doesn't like to take the ball and become a running back. And
No.
this is where he doesn't have it over a lot of the other teams and the other even the other past quarterbacks of Ohio State. Justin Fields, you handed him the ball, you never knew what he was going to do. He'd either drop back and pass it, or he'd take and when he'd come out from under center with it and run. It depended on the situation. Well, I've yet to see this Shroud kid do that, and
No,
they're gonna have to incorporate that into the offense, or I'm not sure what they're gonna do.
He's not
with
that
him.
type of quarterback. He's a pocket passer. That doesn't work in
Well,
today's
then
college
that's
football.
not going to work. That's definitely not going to work here.
You have to be both. You have to be a dual threat quarterback in this day and age in college. Even to a point the NFL, but the NFL you can actually be a pocket passer. Because I think Tom Brady's really a pocket passer. He doesn't run around a ton. But
Well,
he's been
Mr.
totally
Brady,
successful.
we'll cover that in a little bit, but Mr. Brady didn't have a very good day yesterday, even though they did win, didn't they? I don't remember what
that I
that
don't.
score was. But he was getting, he was going, the first two games, he went pretty much untouched. And yesterday wasn't his lucky day as far as that was concerned. He got clobbered 2 or 3 different times. And nobody had been able to pressure him until yesterday. And yesterday was a little different. I watched about half of that game yesterday afternoon when I had time, and it was pretty interesting. But getting back to Shroud and Ohio State here, the defense did better. But you expect more from them than that?
Well, I think it's because they have a new guy calling plays. They have a guy who was the D coordinator under Chip Kelly at UCLA, who was, I forget exactly, position coach or what he was with Ohio State prior to being what he is doing now, but he's way more aggressive than Kerry Combs was. There's a reason why Kerry Combs was with Ohio State for a while under Urban Meyer. There's a reason he was never promoted. Urban saw.
Yeah, Urban saw that. I'm sure of that.
He's one of Urban's best friends, and of course in college and kind of the pros too, people promote their friends. If he saw that his friend couldn't handle it, Ryan Day should have been able to see that too, and not made him the D coordinator.
Yeah, well, I guess it's. I guess I ought to take and put us on screen. Here's what I ought to do. Oh, yeah, that'll
Yeah,
work.
probably.
That'll work. As far as the him being a defensive coordinator, stretch that out a little bit. What happened to that? Anyway, as far as him and being the defensive coordinator and that, I'm sure he's been looked at, and I'm sure that somewhere down the road before he's been determined against.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really no excuse for that now.
I mean, even the linebackers coach, who was one of the best in the nation and good at recruiting, one of the top recruiters in the nation. He, I wonder why he's not getting jobs as a D coordinator when, like I said, he's one of the best recruiters in all of the country, and he, it, well, I thought he was a good linebackers coach. He was good when he came from Michigan, but of course now with Ohio State, he's not that great at. He's great at recruiting, but not great at actually coaching guys to be good linebackers. And that's kind of the point of a position coach.
Yeah, that is the point of it.
Exactly.
But as far as let's switch to a little bit of the defense that they played the other night or the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't real impressed. A lot of holes, a lot of missed tackles,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't. If they would have just defensively did what they were supposed to do, that would have been a 50-0 or a 50-14 game, I think.
I mean, at the beginning of the game, or the first half, really, the offense was sputtering. So, I think that that Henderson, number 32 for Ohio State, running back, I think he's the reason they won so big, because he had like 270 yards, I believe, rushing.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna be good. He got lucky he didn't break his leg though, because at one point on a play his leg was bent in 3 different ways.
Well, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, your leg's supposed to be bent in 3 different ways at the same time.
Yeah, what the heck? Nobody knew it.
Yeah.
It was almost like Baker yesterday.
Oh yeah, I have a take on that. We'll get into that in a minute. But they need to do something at quarterback because with Ohio State, because right now Stroud isn't doing it, and I get the other 2 are true freshmen, the other 2 quarterbacks. Oh yeah, and if you want to talk position coaches, go ahead and fire the quarterback coach, who also is Urban Meyer's son-in-law. Fun fact. But he's only there because of the connection with
Well,
Meyer.
as far as Mr. Day goes, I think he's going to have to start getting his own people in there, but I don't know that he's got to. Whenever you take a team like that, and it happens in the NFL too, you're inheriting somebody else's team
Mm-hmm.
when you come on, especially as a quarterback, as a regular coach,
Mm-hmm.
or a head coach. You're actually inheriting the previous persons, and you're going to probably be running off of that guy for 2 or 3 years, and that's evident here. A lot of what you saw as far as the last couple of years was still Urban Meyer. I knew he wasn't coaching, but his hiring stuff was there.
That case is more in college football though, because at least, especially because Urban stepped down because of health reasons, and they just promoted from within. But usually, at least a head coach in the NFL gets to pick his staff, and there's really nobody to tell him, no, you have to keep these guys unless they did good. Well, in college, the head coach still has to answer to the athletic director, and the athletic director, I think, dictates a lot more than people think on who stays and who goes on the coaching staff.
Yeah. Well, it's you. Well, my point here was that you're inheriting the last 2 or 3 years, and you're probably going to go 2 or 3 years like that until you start getting your own coaching in there. And that's how, when Urban came here, he had a lot of his own team or his own coaches, but he built it as he was going on. And Day hasn't had a chance to do that yet. And I think when he does, I'm not sure where he's gonna go as a coach. When you come out of the ranks like that, it's pretty tough for you to do that.
And not having head coaching experience prior to that,
Exactly.
you need a lower division. You need to coach at Akron before you coach at Ohio State.
It's kind of similar to giving a 16-year-old a Ferrari.
Exactly.
The possibilities are there, but the kid, the person doesn't exactly know how to actually run it. Hell, the way cars are getting today, it'd be lucky to be able to start it.
I know. I mean, look at what the Browns did with Freddie Kitchens. That was a joke. He was running back coach, and all of a sudden, 8 games as coordinator, and he gets a head coaching job. The players didn't take him seriously because they looked at him as the running back coach and not a head coach.
Well, there was a lot less respect than that there when he left.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on the inside, you can see that stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that they promoting within isn't always the best, because the players look at that guy as, especially if it's a position coach getting promoted to head coach, they look at that guy as a position coach. Like, why should we take him seriously? He was just our position coach a couple months, with Freddie Kitchens. Within 7-8 months, he went from running back coach to head coach.
Well,
how can players?
You've had people come through the ranks though like that have done really well.
Yeah, they've come through the ranks though. They've they've climbed the ladder. He didn't really climb the ladder though.
Yeah.
He almost went, because 8 games as offensive coordinator isn't enough.
Well,
to prove yourself.
we could fight about that all day. Cleveland, especially the Browns, have been notorious for doing stuff like that. I mean, I can think of stuff back. Johnny Manziel.
Well, yeah.
Johnny was pressuring, what's his name now? The owner. Haslam. He started pressuring him. Haslam was walking into the stadium one afternoon, and a fan come up and said, "Hey, you ought to take Manziel." Oh, okay, we'll think about that. Next thing you know, we've got him.
Man. The legendary homeless man.
Yep. So they do come up through the ranks, but Cleveland has been notorious for that kind of stuff, and it of course it shows. I mean, 31 and
1 and 31. Yeah.
1 and 31 shows it. And you always, when you're a Browns fan, you're always hoping for that miracle season. And I think we were supposed to have that this year, and I'm beginning to be a little skeptical about that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of similar to what Ohio State's going through. They're going through growing pains, and until some of it works its way out, they may not make playoffs. They may not make a bowl.
No, they won't.
The thing of it is, though, it's a necessary evil. It's going to have to be that way.
All I can say, they better beat Michigan. As long as they can get that.
That's an entity by itself, and they may do pretty well with that.
Yeah, they tend, even if they have bad seasons or 1 or 2 lost seasons, they always end up playing to beat Michigan.
And I
So,
hate to say this, but Michigan looks pretty tough this year, even with Harbaugh.
mm,
We'll see.
they'll falter. That's Harbaugh's MO. They get off to a good start and they falter.
So let's go into a little bit of professional football now, and we'll talk about
Okay.
the Browns.
Okay, big question. What is Baker doing trying to tackle somebody with his shoulder?
That is the $1,000,000 question, and he's probably wondering that right now as we speak, because he's probably aching from that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what happened to him, I'm almost positive he had his shoulder got dislocated, and when he ran into the locker room, they popped it back in, and he was all right.
oh yeah.
He's probably still sore from it.
I know Landry was supposed to have his MRI this morning. So.
That's a little bit of a concern there, because Landry is more of a positions coach as well as a pass receiver for the Browns, and he does a lot to make sure players are lined up where they're supposed to be. Like you had a couple penalties where I know the one that said that the receiver was covered, and it was a procedural call. They ended up losing 10 yards over it because the guy was out of place. And
exactly.
That for a team of this supposedly this caliber, that should have never happened.
I mean, the problem is with both Landry and Beckham out, you're relying on young receivers, and you can't do that. I'm glad they focused on the running game after the Jarvis injury. I mean,
that running game that's the cream of the crop there. That's what, and I love Nick Chubb. I've never seen a player that when he's handed a ball, and he did this twice yesterday that I saw, starts out with 0 and ends up with 15 or 20 yards. You just got to love that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's
one of the best plays I've ever seen.
He come up against the one play I saw. He come up against the line, and he just turned around, ducked around it, went to the outside, and ended up with 18 yards. Awesome player.
I was impressed by that Felton, the number 25. I mean,
yeah, he did pretty well for a rookie.
If he could actually hold on to the ball as a punt returner, that would be great. Or kick returner, whatever he did, where he fumbled. But as a receiver / running back, I think he can be really good. Just develop him slowly, but I think he can be really good. And I was kind of impressed by Delpit, the little bit that.
Yeah, that was Delpit's first time back.
Oh yeah.
He's been out for a couple of years, or a year, and that I'm waiting to see some of the other injuries stuff come back. We should be all right.
I mean, I know McDowell got hurt, but I don't know if he missed the rest of the game or not. I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
He walked off fine.
A lot of that stuff was precautions. They're pretty much told if you go to get up and something aches, lay there until we come and get you.
So, plus, with the heat,
yeah, it was 85 degrees on the field yesterday. So it remains to be seen. I was impressed with I was really impressed with the offense. I think they did up there where with the caliber that this should be, but they still got a lot of work on that defense.
Hmm. It's just that's what happens when you have a new defense and you don't play in the preseason. I mean, I understand they're risking getting hurt if you play them, but the chemistry's not there. The team chemistry's not there. I get they had the joint practice against the Giants, but that's a controlled environment. Coaches can dictate what goes on in that. Coaches can't dictate what happens in the game. Did you see the one time where a player for them was down and their coach ran onto the field to just chew out another player? He ran like 50 yards into the field to chew out one of the offensive linemen.
I heard the narrators talking about that. I wasn't watching it then. I was over here working.
Like, I've never seen a coach do that before.
Well, spirited, to say the least.
Oh yeah. I mean, to a point, that should happen. If a player makes a mistake, the coach should get in, lay it into him. Because, especially if it costs your team.
While we're on the subject of coaching,
oh yeah,
I think you know where this is going.
Yeah.
What about that Kansas City game?
That pushed one of our players, and of course, the Browns player punched him in the face, and the coach didn't get fined. That's just ridiculous too. Because if a player did that, because what the coach was kind of doing was pulling him off the pile. Well, if a player were to pull him off a pile, he'd get penalized and fined. But he's a coach, so the team got penalized, but didn't get fined, didn't have his pocketbook affected. Yeah, ridiculous. Time to change things, NFL. You can't always protect the coaches.
Well, even Stefanski said that when he talked about that, he was saying that it was when the refs see that stuff, they always see the last person that does something, and that's the one they go after.
Yeah, but they also they had to go to New York to get the penalties, to have it confirmed by New York to see what the penalties were. So how did the league office not see what the coach did or have a problem with what the coach did? Because I get the ref sees what he sees, but when you go back and watch the video, how can you miss and not punish the guy for originally reacting? I get the league punishes for retaliation, but why not punish for the action that caused the retaliation? They could not have missed that, and if they are, they're blind, and that's not good. But no offense to blind people, but the league needs to do something. They need to put out a release and explain themselves, because right now it looks like they're just protecting the coach, and I think if that happens again, they'll let another coach get away with it and just keep letting coaches get away with it, but the players will get in trouble for retaliating. So,
Yeah, to me,
didn't make an example.
there actually needs to be. I think what happened there was just completely wrong, and if nothing else, that needs to be brought up to the owners' meetings. The owners' meetings should take care of that because that's pretty much on their plate. The officiating in a lot of these games is, you know, halfway blind anyway, and that you could almost attribute that to the blindness because of the fact that in that same game there was a couple of missed calls there that should have been called that weren't. And
I mean, the fact, not only did the refs on the field, see what the coach did, but the league office saw the tape. They saw what we saw, plus they probably reviewed the tape. How are they missing that and letting that coach get away with it? Because again, if a player were to pull another player off a pile, then he would get penalized and fined. But a coach can try to pull a player off the pile. Not saying what Harrison did, hitting the coach in the face, was.
well, he didn't try to pull him off the pile. He was pushing him. That was the thing. That coach pushed that player. There was no trying to pull him off of there. He pushed him so hard he almost stepped on the leg of the player that was down. And that's where this is completely wrong. You have people on the sidelines that should know better. And now, oh yeah, we got 15 yards because we did that. Big deal. If you're gonna fine the player $12,000 or whatever, then fine the coach that. Fine the coach $24,000 because he ought to know better.
Yeah, I mean, and they should fine the coach more because he's supposed to be setting an example for his players.
Yep.
Too.
There was some.
Of course, it's ridiculous, and they don't. But whatever.
The thing came down to
a double standard. Then okay, put in a double standard.
Everything came down last night to Cleveland's offense winning that game for them. I don't know what Baker's stats was, but I don't think there was more than 2 or 3 missed throws,
including the interception.
And one interception, and that's one too many. That should have never happened. Of course, there again, that wasn't. I don't think that was on Baker because Baker was on target with that guy.
No, that was on Schwartz. He stopped. So really, Schwartz is the one who caused Baker's injury. Because if he wouldn't have stopped, the ball wouldn't have been intercepted, and Baker wouldn't have had to make the tackle.
Yeah.
So,
but
I'm pulling up Baker's stats right now. So.
But as far as that goes, I think that the offense did fairly well. I'd give them at least a C. On the other side, I think I'd give probably the defense would probably be about a C minus. They did win the game, but there was too many problems.
I mean, a big part of the fact of winning is Tyrod Taylor got hurt and they were facing.
Oh, bull! That Tyrod Taylor is a fake artist if there ever was one. Oh, I pulled my.
Okay.
Oh, I hurt. Oh, I hurt. That BS. That guy was a fake artist before he came to Cleveland, and he's been a fake artist ever since.
Let's see, Baker's stats. He had 213 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 105 quarterback rating.
What was his passing stats?
That's what I'm looking for. So
I think it was like 19 to 21 or something like that. But
yep, you're right. 19 to 21 for 213 yards.
Well, that's
Wow, that many
that's not
passes.
too bad considering the run game we've got.
That's a
You're
good
not
point.
going to have 400-yard passing games because of the run game, and that's the way it should be. The mix, the mix that I saw yesterday is between running and passing. I think was probably where it should have been. It was about 55, 45, or maybe 60, 40. But that's the way it should have been.
And yeah, that's how it should be. They should start establishing the run to open up the pass. Because, I mean, everybody knows that you bring the, establish the run, that draws the linebackers up, and then that will get your tight ends or receivers open, and it even draws up a safety maybe to open up the middle of the field.
Yep.
For the receivers. So get the run game going and then get the pass game. Build the pass off the run. Play action.
Yep. And that's the way it ought to be. But as far as I thought the actual offense was not too bad. There's been some happenings around the league now that we probably should talk about.
Okay.
One of them was the injury of T.J. Watt from Pittsburgh. That I will be the first one to hang on a second. I'll be the first one to say that
Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks!
but I had to do that.
Oh, yeah. And anytime the Steelers come up, I'm surprised you didn't do that last night when I mentioned the Steelers on the show last night. But I was actually waiting for you to do it, and you didn't.
But everybody knows my favorite team is not Pittsburgh. I have two nemesis in this league, and that's Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And not because of the way they play. It's because of or the people on the team. It's because of the fact of the history and my knowledge of that history clear back to about 1964. When you get a team like Pittsburgh that just clobbers you every year, and you think you've had curses with them and with their fields and stuff like that. It's hard not to dislike that team. I do like T.J. Watt though. I thought that guy's a hell of a player, and I hated to see him get hurt. And then I think because of part of that was probably the fact that Pittsburgh lost yesterday. And that
I mean, they didn't have a pass rush.
well,
And you don't have a pass rush, the guy has all day to throw.
there was actually some pretty interesting games that I've watched this weekend. That Cincinnati game was pretty good. The one that has Kirk Cousins, I can't think of that. Was it the Vikings or?
The Vikings, yeah.
Kirk Cousins sucks.
Oh yeah, I mean,
This guy's supposed to be a great player in that, but man, he wasn't much of a quarterback.
He benefited big time from the Kevin Stefanski offense because that covered up his
flaws.
flaws, yeah.
But as far as that went, I was not real impressed with them.
No.
And of course then Pittsburgh lost. I don't know. Did Tampa Bay win last night? I wanted to look at that again.
I mean,
They
Minnesota
probably
should
did.
have won.
They probably did. But
Yeah. Minnesota should have won. But, of course, former Brown kicker blows the game. Greg Joseph missed a game-winning field goal right at the end. And it was funny. Right before the show, I was watching a video. It was of that with their radio crew, like narrating it during the video, and the play-by-play announcer originally called it as good, and the analyst was like, "No, it's no good," because it was so close. He missed it by like a foot, but a miss is a miss, and Minnesota really should have won that game multiple times, but Kirk Cousins and their kicker blew it for him.
Okay, I'm looking at the results for some of these games. We had the Washington team win by 1 point over New York. That was Thursday night. That was a pretty good game. I watched a little bit of that. New England beat the Jets. We all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Denver actually beat Jacksonville. I had picked Denver. Urban Myers has got a mess down there. That's all there is to that.
Yeah. I mean, Chiefs lost to Baltimore.
Miami got slaughtered by Buffalo.
Well, look who their coach is.
Yeah.
He's not competent. Tennessee.
The one that I did,
Seattle.
the one that I had, I think, was San Francisco. I picked them over Philly. LA beat Indianapolis, and I watched part of that game. That was pretty good. They beat them by 3.
I want to jump in real quick. The Dolphins beat the Patriots. Just to make a correction, the Dolphins beat the Patriots 17-16.
Not according. They played Buffalo yesterday, according to this.
Oh. Wait.
You on the right week?
Okay. I did just make that mistake. Okay.
Buffalo
That
35.
makes-
Buffalo had to come back.
Yeah.
They had the first week was a bad week for them. And as I said, the LA beat Indianapolis, the Colts.
San Francisco beat the Eagles. Browns beat the Texans, as we covered. Broncos beat the Jaguars, like you said. Oh, Carolina beat New Orleans 26-7.
That was one I didn't expect. I had picked New Orleans there. And Minnesota and Arizona.
Bengals
Arizona
lost.
won by 1 point.
Bengals lost to the Bears. Browns play the Bears next week. I'll actually, I think, be at that game. So that'll be interesting.
I had a friend of mine that was at the Browns game this last weekend.
Or,
Tampa Bay won against Atlanta. That figures. 48. Brady put up 48 points.
Yeah.
And then
48-20.
Tennessee won over Seattle, which I picked Seattle being a West Coast team. And I think a team to watch is going to be Tennessee this year.
Oh yeah.
And then Dallas beat the Colts.
Chargers.
Yeah, that was it. And then
And
then the Ratbirds beat Kansas City.
of course, by 1 point.
Of course.
Because, well, that's all you need, but of course.
It only takes 1 point, yeah.
Leave it to Lamar Jackson to be the comeback kid. But hey, dude can't win a playoff game. So he can win all the regular season games he wants, but he can't win a playoff game. So whatever.
Let's talk about some of the upcoming this, this next week.
Okay, let me pull up.
I'm doing that myself here.
Let's see. We got Texans, Panthers, Chargers, Chiefs, Jacksonville at home against Arizona, Browns, Bears, Washington disaster of a football team versus Buffalo, Colts versus Texans, Saints and Patriots, Falcons and Giants,
All right.
Steelers and Bengals. I don't know what out of those games.
If the next week, Thursday, and we have a Thursday night game, which is Carolina and Houston. Houston was just here, and their supposed quarterback is probably going to still be out because he's wincing in pain.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I'd pick Carolina over that one, or for that one. Let's go through some of these. How about Indiana and Tennessee? Or Indianapolis? At Tennessee.
I would say Tennessee.
Yeah, I would pick that one.
Yeah, I don't have any idea of a score prediction yet, but
We have Atlanta at New York, the Giants.
oh, Atlanta by 30. Well,
I don't know. An LAC against Kansas City. I'll take Kansas City there. Kansas City's going to have to come down.
It'll be a close game.
Kansas City's got to come back from that loss.
And then Steelers and Bengals, since it's a AFC North division game.
Without TJ Watt, you still have Ben there. That'll be a 3-point game one way or the other. I'd probably take Cincinnati for that one.
I agree, because, I mean, no offense, but Ben is washed up. As much as they want to run him out there and say, oh, he's still, an MVP type quarterback, he's been over the hill for the past 3-4 years.
Yep. Hate to say it, but I agree with you.
How about Eagles, Cowboys?
I
would take Eagles.
I hate to say this, and my cohorts from the other show are probably going to say, what did you pick them for? And why don't you go with Dallas?
Oh.
But I'll take, I lost my blasted place here. I can't get it back. Schedule.
How about Rams versus Buccaneers?
All right, let me catch up here. Okay,
I'm kind of all over the place. I'm not going straight down the schedule.
Let's go. I had Cincinnati or Chicago at the Browns.
Oh,
I think I'll take the Browns. That's pretty obvious.
It is Chicago. Who's Chicago's quarterback? Is Fields starting now, or is it still Andy Dalton?
Dalton.
Yeah.
The last I knew, it was still Dalton.
Okay, then. Yeah, the Browns should win.
I'll take that one. Of course, then again, Cleveland's never had much luck against Andy Dalton.
True.
All right, let's move on here. Baltimore, Detroit. I'll take Baltimore on that one.
Unfortunately, yeah. Same here.
And then New Orleans at New England.
New Orleans, I think. I think Jameis Winston will do a little better than
I'm
Mac Jones, I think.
I think I'd be tempted to take New Orleans there. And then Arizona at Jacksonville.
Yeah, Arizona. Bye.
Yeah, I think so. Washington at Buffalo.
Buffalo by a lot.
New York Jets at Denver.
Oh, close, but I think the Broncos are going to pull that one off for their only win of the season, if they haven't won already.
And then Miami at Las Vegas. Oh, I'll take Vegas all over that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that should be another 20-plus point game.
Seattle at Minnesota.
Seattle, they just have better team. Russell Wilson is 10 times better than Kirk Cousins will ever be.
Yeah, I'll take Seattle on that one too. Tampa Bay at L.A.
I
I'd
would
be
love to pick LA, but I think look at just compare the quarterbacks, Tom Brady or Matt Stafford. Well,
yeah.
sorry, Matt Stafford, but
I'll take Tampa Bay there.
same.
Green Bay at San Francisco.
Ooh, that's a good matchup. And if San Francisco keeps doing what they're doing with the development of using their young quarterback that they just drafted in gadget situations, I think they can pull it off. Because he's already thrown a couple touchdowns in limited action in gadget plays this year.
And then Philadelphia at Dallas.
Philly.
Yeah, I hate to do that to my cohorts, but I'll take Philly. They're gonna get ticked at me Saturday morning. That's it for the NFL for this week. Why don't we go ahead and wrap this up a little, even though it's a little early. I'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Tune in to Crooked River Radio for hits from the 60s to the 80s. Also, tomorrow from 7 to 8, World According to Elmer. I stumble because I'm waiting for you to step in on that one.
That's with Jerry Sorensen as a host, and I'm the Elmer.
Yeah.
My name is Elmer there.
I just wanted to make sure the show is still going on.
As far as I know, I've
Okay.
talked to him a couple times this week so far, and he seems like he's in pretty good spirits. So
Okay.
he actually had some surgery here last week, and it had affected him. He wasn't really doing that bad from it, but Tuesday afternoon he had a port. One of those ports came out, and his hand started swelling again, and it made it so he couldn't. He didn't think he'd be able to sit still for an hour, so we postponed this week. We may have a guest over on that one. There's a guy that's in Prague, I think he said, Czechoslovakia, somewhere like that. That's going to actually come on the program and talk to us from there and tell us about what ham radio is like over there. Should be an interesting show.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you got. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
4 Guys on Sports.
Saturday morning
At 11 a.m. with Pat, Sean, Nate, and Gordon.
Hey, all right.
Yes, I wanted to make sure.
We're teaching you, Eric. We're teaching you.
Yes. But they go from 11 to noon or a little later than that.
It depends on the flow of the show.
Yeah. But so you got that starting at 11 on Saturday. Then the show Sunday, Radioactive, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
And I don't know how we're going to beat this. The last 2 or 3 shows have been...
Yeah.
You just don't think you can beat them.
Like, I don't know if you saw my message yesterday, but we should really try to see if we could have Dave Canyon on. Because I was listening back to that episode where he joined us. That was one of our best episodes, like in the early
Yeah,
times of me being on the
Dave,
show.
Dave is such a good man. He's
Yeah.
got a lot happening in his world right at the moment. He's changing jobs again and everything like that.
Mhm. Oh, I
He
understand how
actually
that is.
discontinued his podcast at 300 shows.
Oh,
And,
really?
yeah, he discontinued for. I don't. Yeah, I think he's probably just hiatus. He'll probably go a different direction and do them again. But I think he's too busy to really nail it down.
And on a little side note, I have a couple things in the works. I'll be joining a couple different podcasts. I'll let everybody know in a couple of weeks where I'm going to be on. But joining as a Browns and Buckeyes representative on a couple different podcasts
That sounds
around the
interesting.
country. So,
All right.
Um,
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it
I'll
up.
talk to y'all.
We will see you all next week. This will
Talk
be
to
normally from 7 till, or from, yes, 7 to 9 in the morning.
yeah.
That ain't happening. No.
Yeah. No, thanks. 11 to noon.
On Mondays.
Mondays, unless we have scheduling conflicts.
Like we had this
and
week.
then- yeah. So, but we'll keep you updated on social media. But till next week, have a great week, everybody. Go Buckeyes and go Browns. Have a good one.